this is like a blast from the past for me. Me and this girl have probably known each other for going more than, probably around 20 odd years. Today I'm joined by ex-Scottish internationalist cricketer, ex-East Kilbride legend. I'm joined by Vari Maxwell. Welcome to the show, Vari.
Welcome. Thanks for having me, mate. I just want to say congratulations to you for your recent events as well, for your marriage and your little girl. She's beautiful.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's very, very kind of you. Very kind of you indeed. Trust me, the 5-month-old is keeping me busy. This is like my switch-off time. I've done my shift today, so I'll be back on duty straight after this. But no, thank you very much for your well wishes. I appreciate that. So what I want to do, Vari, is I want to give the listeners a wee bit of an insight into your career, your life, which is a very, very interesting life. I mean, I know you through cricket, and we'll touch on that, but so many other things. You've had such a journey in your life. So you were born in sunny Ayr in Scotland, all the way back in 1981. So what was that like? You weren't there for too long. You moved when you were 7 because your dad got work. But what was the first kind of? Do you have any memory of growing up in Ayr?
Yeah, well, it's a funny one. We were actually brought up in a 2-berth caravan, residential caravan.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome times, awesome memories. Yeah. But so moving to East Kilbride was a big sort of change because we were in a 3-bed house, so we thought it was like a mansion compared to the caravan.
So what's your family makeup? How many people was that in the caravan?
Older sister, younger brother, mum and dad, and a cat.
Oh, aye, so fairly. So no wonder when the 3-bed came, that must have, no wonder it felt like a mansion because there was a fair amount of use there. No,
Absolutely.
That's good. So what did your dad move to East Kilbride to do his work?
He was a catering manager, and his job just took him to East Kilbride, and instead of him travelling every day, that was it. We just up sticks and left, as they say. Yeah.
Oh well, it was a good move. It was a good move because I mean, are you still based in East Kilbride?
I'm not. I'm in Portsmouth now, mate.
Oh right, down south. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I stayed in Portsmouth after. Yeah.
Okay,
my time in the Navy, basically.
Okay, sure. I thought you were still around these neck of the woods. So, childhood, when you moved to East Kilbride, let's start from there. Go early. What's your early memories of going to school? And were you always interested in sports, for instance?
I was always quite a sporty person, whereas like my brother and my sister, they had sort of no hand-eye coordination, so I was a sort of odd one out in the family.
Okay.
So I played a lot of sports. I loved my PE classes and stuff in school. So yeah, and that's where.
So what kind of sports? What did you take a liking to in your early days?
Early days, I was football mad. I did a bit of karate as well. Got to my black belt in karate. So yeah, that was all.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
That's excellent. All right, so you're a bit of a lethal weapon as well. So tell me now then, how I obviously know you is how did the cricket? How did this girl born and bred in Ayr move to East Kilbride? Siblings didn't play any sport whatsoever. How did you end up getting into cricket? Basically,
East Kilbride Cricket Club was obviously my local club, and there was a coach from the district that came round the clubs, the schools, and they took the professional from East Kilbride. They took round with them round all the schools, and basically just did an hour each week of like cricket classes.
So who was the pro at East Kilbride at that point?
It was Asif Mujtaba.
Oh wow! I remember that well. I remember that well. Listen, he once hit a 6 off the last ball of the game to win an ODI for Pakistan. Left-arm spinner, proper player. So you know what? You probably wouldn't have known who the hell he was, I would imagine.
Not at that time, I didn't.
So how did that? So they came round obviously to spread the word of cricket to the schools to try and grow the game. So how did you take a liking to cricket?
Basically, for me in the first place, it was sort of an extra hour out of class every week. So it was a bit of a cheats mode. I couldn't be bothered sitting in the class, to be honest. So we all got the chance to either have an extra PE class or try something different. And maybe in me, I thought I'll try something different. Just from the minute I picked up a ball, that was it. The rest history, sort of thing.
So I mean, I would imagine it would have been like quick cricket stuff you were doing, just hit the ball, catching the ball, throwing it in, a bit like what but they always try and wind us up in school in Scotland when they say that you play rounders, when we know the game is a lot more advanced than rounders. But back then, it probably would have been a bit like that, just kind of whack the ball, enjoy it.
Whack the ball and run sort of thing, yeah.
Whack the ball and run, not so many other skills involved. So did they then see something? Did they then obviously must have seen something in you that they encouraged you to come along to the cricket club?
Yeah, they did. They actually they put us into 2 groups, and I was in the group on the right and the group on the left. We got picked first, the group on the right, who was getting selected for the competition.
Yeah.
And they must have picked 5 or 6 out of my group, and I didn't get picked. So maybe I was gutted. So I was like, I'm not letting this happen. So I sneaked into the left group. Nudged my way forward into the front of the group, and David Duncan, the coach, he just sort of, as I stood there, I was like trying to get his attention. Basically, just sort of pointed at me and went, "Yep, I knew," and that was it. So
when you say Duncan, I know the guy is it? No, that's Dickie. Because I played at East Kilbride. That's Mr. So who? I'm trying to work. Would he be somebody? Would Mr. Duncan be somebody I know? Was he involved with East Kilbride?
He was involved with the district.
Right. Okay.
West District. Yeah.
Okay.
Him and Mr. Mike Stanger.
Oh well, I know him very well. The famous Mike Stanger. I had a lot of dealings with him. So Vari, you got invited to go along East Kilbride Cricket Club. Asi Mushtaba is obviously the pro at this point. So how old were you when you walked in East Kilbride Cricket Club?
9.
9 years old. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So Monday nights training, Friday nights going down for a game. I'd imagine some quick cricket tournaments on the weekend, maybe on a Sunday and stuff like that. So were you doing all of that then? You know, what were your early memories of just what were you doing?
Absolutely, we were doing that nearly every week. We had some sort of junior tournament. We used to go to the Sports Scotland tournaments up in Perth. Travel all about Scotland, really.
I remember them.
A lot of the time we spent a lot of time at your old club as well, Clydesdale, didn't we?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to take me nicely then into my first memory of knowing you, Vari. So, you know, I was about, I mean, you're 3 years older than me, so let's say by this point you were probably about 14. I would have been about 11. And there used to be a yearly festival, which was a hardball festival, you remember well, at Clydesdale, where 4 teams would get invited. So you normally used to have West of Scotland, Clydesdale, East Kilbride, maybe joined with a Weirs or something like that.
Weirs and Fergusley or something like that, yeah.
Weirs and Fergusley to get the numbers up, and maybe a Kilburn. Kilburn had a really good junior setup. So I was just kind of making my way in at that point. I was, you know, very, very young, but, you know, because I took a love to the game like you, I was playing as you probably did, the advanced stages well before your time. But there was this girl playing, you know, a red-headed girl playing, the only girl at the tournament. And you were just kind of dominating that. You know, you were East Kilbride and Weirs' best player. And, you know, you were scoring the 50s, you were having, you know, you were the main. And I couldn't I'll be honest, no discrimination now, because at the end of the day, women's cricket is so successful and so many women sportsmen. But at 11 years old, I never really understood this shit. I maybe was still at that stage where you're a girl, you can't do that, which I'm sure you faced a lot of. But tell me, I mean, what, you know, where did the confidence? You must have always been up against it, playing against boys.
To be fair, I think that's where the confidence came from. Do you know what I mean? You probably the lads that had that sort of attitude made me more determined, sort of thing. So I think that's maybe what just boosted my confidence. Like, now you're not going to stop me, sort of thing. So I just kept going for it. So that's probably about it.
Now, you always had a bit about you. So you tell me about some of the run-ins you might have had in those days with some of the boys.
Oh, wow. Oh, I had the likes of Gareth Urquhart to deal with. Do you know what I mean? And I was his captain for about 7 years in total. And I tell you, I could have choked him on many occasions. But I didn't. I kept my cool. I used to get slated all the time. I'd get slated by the opposition. I'd get slated by my own team. Do you know what I mean? But as I said, that just sort of made me more determined. But I think the proof was in the playing. Do you know what I mean? So if anyone wanted to sort of argue against it, then that's all right. Wait till I bowl at you. Wait till I'm facing you bowling. Do you know what I mean? And then we can argue it out then. So I think it sort of I think I got a bit of respect for doing that. Do you know what I mean? And just keep my mouth shut and just getting on with it. And yeah, because I've got a bit of a mouth when I want to have, but I thought there's no point in that. Just play it out and see what they say after. So yeah.
Do the talking with your back. Do the talking
exactly,
with the
exactly.
That'll shut a few people up.
It did shut a few people up, to be honest. Yeah,
I've seen it
and that's not only in the juniors.
I've seen it firsthand. I mean, I can vouch. You know, it was. You know, we're friends on Facebook, and you know, we had a chat a few weeks ago. You obviously would let me know that you've been enjoying the episode, which is awesome. And you know, that's all those years ago. I can really say that you were the first girl in my life that I seen play cricket very, very successfully and dominate against the boys. So that leads us into, you obviously were a talent. You obviously could hold your own. Tell me about, I mean, early days, you know, talk to me about kind of around 1994, I believe you had some district trials.
Did you? Basically, it was in November, during the winter. We were, I think it was over west of Scotland way. And we had indoor trials, and there was another boy, John Mostyn. Don't know if you remember John, but
John McCrossan.
No, John Mostyn from East Kilbride.
Okay.
The two of us, we were the only ones selected from our cricket club to go for the trials.
Okay.
And basically, what happened was, at the end of the trials, you get a little sort of debriefing type thing, and John was told, "You're not good enough, but we'd like to come back next year. Try again next year." So I was like, a bit gutted for John. Then they came to me and said, "You are good enough, but because you're a girl, you're not going to get selected." So I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So I remember Big Brian Campman, he was there with us, and we were going to be back in the car, and he's like, "Just tell me exactly what was said." So I talked him through it, and he's like, "No, I'm not having that." So obviously he got home, had a think about it, and just a funny old thing was, we happened to have a journalist in the cricket club, and he worked for the East Kilbride News, and basically he did an article in East Kilbride News which went sort of viral in the day, and it ended up all over the international papers, all over the national papers, and it was just hectic, man. Yeah.
Big Brian loves a star. You had the right guy in your corner there. He loves a star. So you went from being, you know, wee Vari from East Kilbride to the news. You know, everyone's probably, and you probably inspired quite a lot of other girls at that point, because there wasn't many girls playing cricket when you first started. I mean, how many girls did you know that were playing at your time?
I was thinking about this morning, and I don't think I played in one junior game in my time against any other girl.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure of it, actually. Pretty sure.
Whereas now there's leagues, and it's quite sad actually, because you were such a talent, and you know, it was unfortunate that you didn't have, you know, all those girls to compete and play against. But continue on with that story. Was it anything that was over, so it wasn't overturned, or did you get the chance to play districts with the boys?
I got an apology letter from the district, and basically I got a couple of sort of trial matches, but I think it was just to say that that's it, I've sort of been there and done it, and it never went any further after that. So yeah. I never got to really sort of show what I could do, sort of thing.
Okay, well, you certainly still got to show what you could do further down the line. When did the Scotland ladies team really start to? Did somebody reapproach you again? What age would you have been when that opportunity came to you?
I was 19. It was in 2000, and I'll be honest here, I didn't really want to join, because I wasn't used to playing in the girls' team. I wasn't used to playing against them, and it was all sort of alien to me. Yeah. And I'm not being big-headed by any stretch of the imagination. That's not me, but I didn't want to take a step back, if that makes sense. I didn't want to. Yeah. But don't get me wrong, the Scotland setup did have a few really good players, but with us playing in the West and them playing in the East, there was a lot more sort of girls. There was more, I don't know, there was more girls' teams, I guess, in the East. Okay. So there were quite a few good players.
Who are we talking? Would you be able to name any of the players that the first ones you came across?
Carrie Anderson,
Yeah.
She was the Scotland captain my time there. Fiona Urquhart.
Yeah. With Carrie Anderson, I think she maybe is Carrie Carswell now.
Yes, Carrie Carswell now, yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
yeah.
That's cool. Fiona Urquhart.
Yeah.
I'm actually got the three of them coming. Might be out before this, but I'm going to be speaking to them. But who else? So Fiona, Carrie, who else?
Fiona, Carrie, Fiona Campbell. There's loads of them, so many to mention. Jennifer Moody at the time, but she's McGregor now. There's just some awesome. There was some awesome talent throughout the years. You know what I mean? It was just it was brilliant. But we got Carrie and I were sort of known as the Carrie and Vari show, so that was like anywhere we went, it was like, oh no, the two of them. It was good fun. Yeah.
So, but that must have been quite nice when you formed that relationship. That while there is another girl out there that's got talent like I've got, because prior to that I can see what you were thinking. You were probably thinking, I don't want to play with the girls. It's going to be rubbish. I prefer playing with the boys. More of a challenge. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, but I tell you what, with people like Carrie and Fiona and things like that, like we stay in touch now. Do you know what I mean? We don't see each other, but
well, they're at the other side of the world.
They're the other side of the world. Yeah. Totally. But yeah, we formed some great bonds back in the day. Do you know what I mean? Made some really good laughs. So yeah, and because we formed as a team, we played well as a team. Do you know what I mean? And we played well together, and we knew each other and each other's games. So yeah, it was a different sort of world to the one that I was expecting it to be when I first joined. But yeah.
So would I be right in saying that you were enjoying it even more then at that point?
Absolutely, yeah. Without a doubt, we just got used to it, and because we'd formed the friendships as well as the playing relationships. Do you know what I mean? It made it all that much better. Do you know what I mean?
Because I think the boys would have constantly been a nightmare because you were better than half of them, so they constantly probably wouldn't have liked you, because it was like, oh, the jealousy factor that she's better than us, So at least with the girls, they probably loved you for who you were and enjoying that you were a great player.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Because you always have that sort of 2 or 3 in a team that are that little bit better. Do you know what I mean? But we stayed with the Scotland setup. We trained so much together that we just got better as a team and as a squad. So, and I think with that, as individuals, you get better, don't you? So I think with our setup, we all bonded that way. So I didn't miss playing with the blokes at that time.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. No, it sounds like more fun already. I mean, who wants to be in a smelly change room with a bunch of smelly, the boys, Yeah, I would imagine this was a lot nicer for you. And that's not me discriminating against women or guys, but at the end of the day, there isn't mixed sports teams. There is in some sports, tennis, etc. But cricket has never been done. So, it's probably suited you better. It was the right time for you in your career to make that plunge. And I'm really happy that it was in place, because now the Scottish women's team and everything is a proper structure in place now. Women's cricket, there's World Cups, there's all sorts.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about some of your career highs. One in particular, you once bowled a spell against Durham. I mean, bloody hell. 1 for 8 off 10 overs. I can't imagine they touched the ball very much.
No, it was a good little spell. Yeah, they were going to take me off after 4 overs and then bring me back on later on. And then I just sort of kept the run rate down, and they said, no, just stay in there just now. And I just.
Where was the game? Where was the game that played?
It was in Florida, the area of Florida, in Durham.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a lovely day, but the figures just made it all that much better. Do you know what I mean? So,
it sounds like you they couldn't. You probably beaten the outside edge and stuff quite a lot, because you probably deserved a few more wickets for a spell like that.
Yeah, they weren't hitting anything. Do you know what I mean? It was frustrating.
Tell me, what did you bowl? You bowled nice. Was it medium pace, right?
Medium pace, a bit of swing, yeah.
Very good, very good. Now you went on. You travelled to Holland, I believe, for the championships. Is this when you had the opportunity to play against a big Test playing nation? You played against Pakistan.
Did indeed, yeah.
Now, I'll blow your own trumpet for you in this one. So Vari delivered a spell against Pakistan where she took 4 for 38. I mean, for a girl coming from Scotland, playing against a country that is grown up playing cricket, most of those girls have been playing it since they were toddlers probably. How did that feel for you? I mean, tell me, just take me back to the feeling that you had that day.
On the day itself, you were sort of buzzing anyway, getting to play against Pakistan. Do you know what I mean? So it was. Yep. So the feeling of me, I can't remember on the day what I felt like. It wasn't until like the day or so after, when you had that time to sort of reflect on it and think about it and go, oh wow, I just did that. And I got to take the match ball home as well, which I've still got. So.
Whoa, I like it. You need to send me a picture of that after it. I'll put
definitely.
that, you know what, when I post this, I've got an idea, when I post this, I'll post the picture you send me of the ball that you took 4 for 38 against
Absolutely.
Pakistan. That'll be cool.
Absolutely.
For Tom, I mean, what were your wickets like? How did you get them?
There was 2 catches, an LBW and a bowled.
Nice.
As far as I remember,
But can you remember, how good your memory? Could you remember who took any of the catches off your bowling?
No, I'd have to look it up.
Look, I'm being a bit. If you ask me to remember who caught catches off me all those years ago, I wouldn't remember. So sorry, I put you on the spot there. So listen, you know that was that. You know that's really. How did the rest of the tournament go? What's your other memories of how you done? How did the girls do in general at that tournament?
Pretty bad, pretty awful.
Okay.
But it was a great experience again. Do you know what I mean? The only game we won was who did we play? I'm trying to think now. My head's all puggled now. I can't remember. We only won 1 game in the tournament, and the rest was just an absolute washout. But it was the experience more than anything that we needed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it made us, again, that was another sort of big thing that brought us more together. Do you know what I mean? And realising where our faults lay and where our good points were. And
who was coaching you back then? Who was the coach?
Julia Price.
Oh, I believe.
Julia wicketkeeper.
I think she's with the. Is she in America now? Maybe as a coach.
I think she might be.
Yeah. I've actually been put in touch with her to maybe try and get something recorded. Tell me about her. What kind of influence did she have on you?
She was awesome, an awesome coach, awesome communicator. Do you know what I mean? You knew exactly what she wanted you to do, and she would encourage you to be that sort of player. Do you know what I mean? And there was one thing with me. I wasn't like the fastest runner, for instance. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was quick enough, but I wasn't the fastest. But I always had that determination. Like when you're running your bat across the line, I would dive or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because I just wanted it so much. But she would notice things like that in players. You know what I mean? And you didn't have to be the best, but you had to just do your best. You know what I mean? So that's what sort of made. She was just a brilliant coach because of that. So yeah.
So really, really perfect then for that time for you girls was the perfect person to have kind of in your corner and guiding you from the experiences that you were obviously the girls were all learning from, because you hadn't really had that kind of exposure. You came back from there, Vari. Now is that, you know, what did things talk to me how you didn't play much more for Scotland after that? I don't think. No,
I didn't. No. I had a few sort of underlying injuries, knee injuries, and basically my work sort of took over at the time. I was working in a production factory, and it just one thing led to another. I got a couple of promotions, and it just sort of took over my life. Basically, I was doing 16-hour shifts 5 days a week and stuff like that. So, to be honest, I didn't have a lot of time for cricket, and I know that now, if I had to look back and go back there, I would have taken more time out of work and stuck with the cricket side of things. But
I know, but that's easier said than done, Barry. I mean, I came through in the Scottish men's system, and there was, you know, you got funded maybe to go away in the tours and stuff like that, and got a bit of support, but you weren't getting a salary and being able to really fund yourself. So, you know, we all got to pay the bills. You were obviously a young woman at that point, so you know, you're not going to keep. You've got to stand on your own 2 feet. So I can understand why that transition kind of period was, and the opportunities, let's be honest, probably weren't what they are, nowhere near what they probably are now in the women's game, where there's more opportunity. But at the same time, you know, the why I was keen to get you on, and we're going to go on and talk about your next stage of your life and your career. But why I was keen to get you on is because I see you as one of the, you know, true originals. And I want all the girls and all the Scottish women and, you know, women around the world in general to hear the story of somebody that was very much involved with starting Scottish cricket. I mean, you mentioned Carrie there. She's obviously gone on to be a bit of a legend. She's now in New Zealand coaching, and you know, she tells me she's about to take the New Zealand under-19 team to the World Cup. So look, I mean, it's amazing to see the heights. You know, I know sometimes that can be a bit sad as well, because that could have been you as well. But everybody's life goes in every direction. And in 1997, you took the big plunge, and off you went into the the British Army. Tell me how that came about.
It was just something I always sort of wanted to do, serve the country, and because I had a bit of ambition with the sport and stuff like that as well, I knew that I would probably get to play a bit of sport being in the forces.
Yeah.
But that was sort of short-lived in the army because, again, I ended up with a knee injury, so I got discharged, medical discharge and basic training, basically. So that was short-lived. Out I came.
What happened? How did it come? I was already, you were struggling with it, but they just got doing the.
It was extensive training, extensive training basically, and it just, my knee just gave in. So yeah.
So how long were you actually at? How long were you with the army and training at that point?
In total, about 7 months from start to finish. So very short career.
How was that? I mean, how tough was that?
It was tough at the time. It was tough, and I remember going back to live with my mum and dad, and hating every minute of it. Didn't want to go outside. Didn't want to go and get a job. I just didn't want to do the basic things. It was like, but eventually got back on my feet. Got back to work.
Do you think that comes from the fact that you played sport at an elite level, then you went into the army? I mean, these are proper prestige things you're getting to do. Not everybody does that, and then to do a normal job, it's hard for sports people and people in the army and stuff. Do you think that's got a lot to do with it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, to go and do it, I'm not the kind of person that could go and sit in an office or something like that. I've got to be up and about on my feet, doing, like, being sort of interacting and all that sort of stuff. But I found that pretty tough. Do you know what I mean? Just going into a normal everyday job. So yeah, later on I decided to take the plunge again.
yeah. So we'll fast forward a few. So basically, for the next 8-9 years, you were just trying. You were. Sounds like that was a bit of a starting a wee slope in your life where you were probably just trying different things out, and it wasn't really taking your fancy. Yeah,
definitely. It was just boring for me. Do you know what I mean? There was no sort of motivation. It was just. And as I say, I got promotion a couple of times, and then I got to the level that I was going to get to, and I knew I wasn't getting any further in the job. So for me, that's just boring. Every day was just the same sort of thing. So then I decided to get myself fit again, get my knee back to, well, full fitness as I thought, and join the Navy.
How did you do that? What was it? Was it kind of, did you go through like physio, or did you just do your own?
I did mostly my own training. Yeah, did my own training because coming from playing a lot of sport anyway, I sort of was in control of, I knew what to do, I knew my limits sort of thing. And I just basically took about a year and a half, 2 years, and just got myself fit, and knowing that when was the right time to take the plunge again. And that's exactly what I did in 2006, yeah.
2006, you decided to apply for the Royal Navy, and they obviously accepted you in. What was it like going, I mean, I've heard stories, I mean, the Royal Navy's tough. I mean, you probably put through some serious testing early doors, physical in particular. Talk to me about that. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. We had several fitness tests before you go in, medicals, all the usual stuff. For obviously physical job like what it is, you've got to be on and off ship, up and down ladders, or in and out hatches, all the rest of it. So yeah, there's a lot of physical fitness involved in it. And again, a lot of sport involved, which was a good thing as well.
Yeah, no. So I mean, it sounds like it, but it got your blood, it got your juices flowing again. You sound like that kind of person. You need a challenge.
Absolutely.
So, you got your body back in good working order, and you were ready. So, great start to your Navy career. I mean, I've read you sent me some information over. You got to travel to around 25 different countries in your time. Tell me some of the places you went to.
Oh, well, did a few trips of the Mediterranean, Gibraltar being one of the ship's favourites, really, I think, as well. A lot of good nightlife and a lot of places for drinking. And obviously sailors with a drink, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you were on the ship, you were going everywhere on the ship then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, went to, did a tour of the States as well.
Okay.
Norfolk, Virginia, New York. Spent a good 6 days in New York, duty free. So that was brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and I did a couple of tours of the Falkland Islands as well. So that was.
Yeah, tell me about that. What was that experience like?
Interesting, but it was probably the best time of my life. Some absolutely awesome people. I was on a fishery protection ship down there, and just a small ship. So I'd gone from like, an aircraft carrier with 950 people on it to a small ship with 38 people on it. So it was a massive difference. So it was basically like a little family, do you know what I mean? And all the Falkland Islanders, they basically take you on as their family, do you know what I mean? Every crew that goes down there, they just sort of adopt them as their family. So you're really well looked after, do you know what I mean? And that was a lovely place. Probably the closest place to Scotland, being so far away. It just looks like Scotland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you do there on a day-to-day basis?
Well, I did. I was a communicator, so I did all the important signals that came in. Took all the signals to the captain. I also did a bit of aircraft handling as well when any helicopters come on. Did a lot of firefighting, and I did a lot of shooting my SA-80 as well. So yeah, it was a bit of everything, jack of all trades. You know what I mean? Master of none.
It sounds like an absolute Barney at the same time. I mean, being away with it's almost like sounds like being away with the girls on the cricket tours. Now you were away with. There must have been a lot of antics that went on in the army, I'd imagine.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But what goes on there stays there, sort of thing.
That's
You know
it.
what I mean?
I know the code. I know the code. I won't even try and fraud there. You know, and we, as cricketers know the saying: what happens on tour stays on tour. So I won't fraud too much. But basically, you know, from listening to you there, just sounds like you were having a fantastic time. You know, you were probably being put through stuff that challenged you a bit more. When you were going to all these different countries, what kind of stuff were you doing? What were you going to do in these countries?
When we weren't working, or what we were doing actually in operation.
Yes.
Well, in the Falklands, the Argentinians were actually wanting to claim back the Falklands again in the time that I was there. So basically, what our operation was basically to keep them away. So some of the time it could get quite scary. So we had every other day we had sort of like in a war zone situation type thing. So we worked alongside the RAF, which would come in and we would do like drills. They would come in with the fighter jets, and we would be firing blanks, obviously, at the jets and making it as in we were getting attacked. So that kept you on your toes as well. Do you know what I mean? That was sort of.
So how close were you there? I mean, so when you say that, how close did you come? Was it like standoffs most of the time? Like something could happen? Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah.
So how close would they have been? How close? I mean, could you see each other from a distance?
They would have been pretty close. We wouldn't have seen them from we wouldn't have seen them, but the ship would have known where they were. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I would be crap myself.
Yeah. Some of the time, it got a little bit close for comfort, but yeah.
So would you get a warning? Would it maybe be like, oh, you know, we've got people close by, you know, we've got company kind of close by. Keep vigilant. Absolutely,
yeah, absolutely, all the time. Do you know what I mean? You were always watching. You were always on your toes for anything happening. So, yeah, definitely. But we didn't know what was underneath us either, because there was submarines and all that. We didn't know who was there. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, but good fun.
Kept you excited there, Vari. Yeah. But kept you. I mean, each to their own. I've never been. It's never been something that is. I was quite happy in a cricket field. You know, the scariest thing I would do is face a guy bowling really, really fast at me. that was enough. But the army and just the thought of, you know, you're a lot braver than me. You know, I couldn't. I don't fancy it. But no, look, it sounds like it was an amazing experience at the same time. And you around 2008, you were talking about the sport factor. Tell me about, you got to play for the Royal Navy in the inter-services tournament.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. That got all these years later, you got to put on get involved in cricket again.
Yeah, absolutely. The coach was actually asking my PT staff in my establishment. He kept asking, "Can you get a hold of her? Can you get a hold of her?" And I wasn't that interested again because I've been out it for so long. So I was like, yeah, I'll get in touch with him at some point. And it took me months. Then I thought, I'll get in touch. I'll do it, and I'll go for the weekend training. And I picked up a bat for the first time in years. And he had the bowling machine out, set it up. And he said, I just want to give you half an hour in the nets just to see what sort of standard you're at. And I remember hitting like 2 or 3 balls, just absolutely drilling them. And he said to me, when was the last time you played? And I said, 6 years ago or something it was. And he said, if I could hit a ball like that after 6 years of not playing, And I was like, that might be a good thing then, do you know what I mean? He said, I'm
Yeah.
not being funny, but he said, I'm not letting you go again, do you know what I mean? You're staying with us. But yeah, that was a bit of a compliment. So yeah, that was it from there. That was me again, sort of the rest is history again, do you know what I mean?
So tell me about the tournament. How did that work? How did that tournament work?
Basically, you play against the RAF, you play against the Army, they play against each other. The winners obviously get to the final, and then so we played against the RAF, we beat them. Played against the Army, beat them. Then the Army played the RAF, the Army beat the RAF, and then we had the final playing the Army, and we beat them. So yeah, and it was the first time ever. So we won the inter-services that year. What's that?
First time in history.
Yes, yeah.
Wow. Talk to me about your performance. Talk to me about your performance. What did you do? Any standout performances?
Not anything standing out, no. But all round, probably just pretty average all round. But maybe that's just what brought into the game. Do you know what I mean? I stopped some runs. On the field, I'd probably a blinder on the field, to be honest. My bowling and batting didn't really stand out, but my fielding was just spot on then. Back with point, you know what I mean? Just bouncing around.
No, but okay, so you maybe didn't blast any 50s and take 5-fers, but I'm sure you still held your own. You really picked for no, and if your team went on to win, you must have been more than holding your own. Yeah.
Oh, I was ecstatic when we won that, because obviously with it being my first year as well, do you know what I mean? It was like, I hope I'd made a difference to it, sort of thing. But all the rest of the girls in the team, or the women in the team, they'd all been playing for years for the Navy, so they hadn't experienced the win. So when I was there, I was like, yes, I've done something. So yeah, it was a good experience.
No, that's excellent. That's brilliant to hear. 2009, you went on to captain it.
I did indeed, yes.
Tell me. So obviously, listen, you're playing yourself down here a wee bit, Barry. You obviously made a big impression. 2008, taking the trophy, so you must have been a big factor. You must have been quite influential in the changing room, and coming from an international background, you obviously had a good influence on them. So they gave you the armband the following year.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah, I've never really thought about it like that, but I would like to think that. Yeah, I've probably brought some sort of something to the game and to the team. Do you know what I mean? I think with my international background, I think that's probably what sort of made it. Do you know what I mean? And the stories that I had to tell them and all the rest of it. Yeah, probably right. I hope I did bring a bit of something to them. Yeah.
No, it sounds like you did. Sounds like, listen, nobody goes on to captain something a year later after winning the tournament if you hadn't. So I think you've played. That's something for you. So if you're ever telling a story down the line, you were a legendary captain that led you through after a title win. Listen, sadly, you ruptured your ACL. But in some ways, that was the end of your cricket career. But in some ways, it's nice to hear that you had that just before the kind of cricketing days came to an end, because before that it was so many years since you'd played. Is that the way you feel about it? I mean, it must have been very sad for you that ACL such a nasty injury.
Yeah. When I did it, I knew I'd done it. I knew that was it. Do you know what I mean? It was like everything just went in slow motion when I did it, and I thought, that's me. I'll never play again. And I just knew at the time. But I think to go out on a high from the previous season, do you know what I mean? We got the title. I played. I probably too old anyway to play again. Do you know what I mean? So I thought at the time.
What age? Where are we at now? What age are you?
I'm 39 now. So I would have been 31, 30, yeah.
Right, so I mean, it wasn't you might have played for a couple more years, or but at the same time, real life, it wasn't like you were playing as a pro, so you had other things that you were going to probably have to do. But did that also then see the end of your Navy career as well then, because it's such a bad injury?
Yeah, it did. Eventually, they kept me for another 3.5 years.
Okay. After
the injury, and I had a desk job. But the only reason they really kept me was because I had so many surgeries to go through and a lot of physio and things like that. So, yeah, and they gave me a desk job in the medical centre, so they knew where I was all the time, and I was getting looked after as well with my physio and everything else. So, yeah, but in 2012, I actually got made redundant due to what had happened, and I couldn't go back on ship again either. So, obviously, you've got to be 100% fit to get on the ships.
Yeah, I mean, is there nothing in place? I mean, do you have to do a certain amount? You hear so many sad stories about people that come out of the army, obviously, Vari. We're going to go on and talk about that. But I mean, you gave a long service. I mean, is that quite common that people come out of the army and it's kind of like, right, we there's not much use for you anymore. That's kind of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of people. I know a lot of people that I still keep in touch with that have come out any of the services. Do you know what I mean? And it's a struggle. It's going to be a struggle. It's got to be a struggle for anything, any job, any line of work. Do you know what I mean? If you've been there especially when you like it as well. They say that if you like a job, then you'll never have to do a day's work in your life, don't they? So for me, it wasn't work. It was mates. Do you know what I mean? You were just with mates doing what you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it never felt like work. Yeah.
So you've come out. You're coming on like around 35 years old. Then I'd imagine when you've been released. Back into the boring world, which you had a wee stage of early in your life before you went, with the transition between the army and then the navy, which has never really been your thing. Again, is it safe to say that you struggled coming into kind of civilian life? Yeah,
really. At first, I thought, I'll be all right. I've got a load of experience. I'll get a job. I'll do this. So just crack on. But unfortunately, it didn't end up that way. Basically, I didn't want to do anything. I just I wasn't me anymore. Do you know what I mean? I just went quiet with the world, didn't want to do anything. And then I knew something was pretty much wrong, seriously wrong. Mm-hmm. And I got diagnosed with severe PTSD, depression, anxiety, and all that sort of stuff, which is very common as well. But people don't realise how common, yeah. And I struggled to deal with that. I struggled to accept that there was something wrong. That wouldn't happen to me, all that sort of bravado sort of thing.
Yeah, bravado, yeah.
Yeah, but then I had to accept that you've got issues, you know what I mean? And you've got to work on them.
How are you feeling? What kind of? I mean, you've obviously said it sounds like you were kind of isolating yourself away from people and whatnot, which I've heard, from people that have spoken out now. Thankfully now people speak. There's a lot more understanding to people that are aware of it, but I'd imagine around this time it was still very unknown.
Yeah, or just not spoken about as much, I don't think. But now, as you say, it is, yeah. But at the time, I'll be honest, I didn't want to go from my bed to the kitchen, let alone go outside. Okay. It was just, what's the point? Mm-hmm. And it took a long time. It took well, my friend, he was like sort of trying to encourage me every day, let's do something, let's go out somewhere, and I couldn't even go to a shop without him by my side. It was that bad, do you know what I mean? It was just panic attacks, all that sort of stuff. And then
was it just being around people, Vari? Was it just like you'd got so down it was just hard to be around people?
I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think I didn't want anyone to be around me, and I didn't want them to see me being around them. So it was all sort of swings and roundabouts, you know what I mean? I couldn't do one thing because I didn't want someone to see me the way that I was, and I didn't want to see them anyway. It was like, just leave me alone. I'll be fine in my own time, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way, do you know what I mean? You need people and you need help, do you know what I mean? If you need help, then you need to ask for it, sort of thing. Yeah.
So how long did it, who were you staying with at that point?
I was actually with my husband. We're separated now, so
right, okay.
I was with my husband, and he put up with a lot. Absolutely, do you know what I mean? If I was him, I wouldn't have stuck it out, do you know what I mean? I turned to the bottle or anything that I could just to isolate myself, do you know what I mean? I would manage to get to the shop in the morning, like this is before it all escalated.
The hustle and bustle.
Yeah, so I'd managed to get to the shop in the morning, get a litre of vodka. By the time my husband came home from work, that litre of vodka was gone, do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And he wouldn't even know that I'd drank it, and it was like, what am I doing, do you know what I mean? I think you've got to tell someone at some point, do you know what I mean? You've got issues. And basically I phoned up my who was my bridesmaid at my wedding, who's a mutual friend of mine and my ex-husband, and I told her, I said, can you phone him at his work, get him home? I said, because I've got something I need to tell him. And she said, "What is it?" I said, "I've got to clear the flat out of bottles." I was living in a 1-bed flat, and he came home, and I managed to hide 17 empty litres of vodka.
Oh wow! Oh wow! He didn't know. He didn't know.
No, didn't have a clue.
Yeah.
And so he cleared it all out, and he just said, "Look, we'll go through this. Do you know what I mean? We'll get through it."
Yeah.
And we did get through it, but together we didn't. Do you know what I mean? It was just too much, and I had too much going on. And I think the worst thing for me was just admitting that there was something wrong. Do you know what I mean? So once that was done, it got a little bit easier for me, and because it got easier for me, it didn't get easier for him. So we just couldn't sort of be together anymore. But yeah, which is sad, but it's better for us both. Do you know what I mean? For our mental health, especially. Yeah.
So when it comes to help, you know how long had you been suffering like this before that you went? Did you accept it or something? You were diagnosed. How long are we talking?
A long time. I was actually seeing a mental health nurse when I was in the Navy.
Right.
So it was as if I'd sort of slipped through the net in a way. Do you know what I mean? Because they probably shouldn't have let me go.
Yeah.
With the way that I was. But when that was 2011, 2012, I was seeing them. And when I came out in 2012, again, I was a bit blasé to it. Oh, I've had my treatment, I'm all right, I'll just move on. And it obviously didn't work that way, and that's when everything just started to go right downhill, yeah. So, yeah, but I just sort of went back and I called up the mental health team, and you get an assessment done over the phone and sort of stuff like that. They'll assess you. And then I got asked to go in and see someone, and I went through basically about 6 or 7 sort of different, how would you call it, like courses, mental health courses, which made me feel a lot better. But after each one, when you haven't got that Wednesday morning meeting, do you know what I mean, or that consultation, once that went again, you sort of felt alone. Do you know what I mean? Like you had nobody to talk to. Yeah. So touch wood, I'm a lot better now. Do you know what I mean? I'm a lot better than what I was. But it's for anyone. Do you know what I mean? For absolutely anyone that's going through it, you've got to say. Do you know what I mean? You've got to tell someone, and it's the best thing I ever did. Do you know what I mean? Don't keep yourself isolated. You've got to have people around you. And even with me, I couldn't say anything, even although I've probably got, and I'll say this, I've probably got the best friends in the world, and I've got a massive support network. But even at that, I found it difficult to say anything to anyone. So it was only like the closest people to me that knew something was actually wrong. So, but I'm glad now that I said something. Do you know what I mean?
So
I'm glad now that I've said it here.
How long has it been since you went? I mean, since you started, how long has it been, like years wise or time since you've had the treatment to now? When did that start?
My treatment finished in July last year, so coming up a year.
Okay.
Since my last session, but with all this nonsense that's going on in the world just now, I have to go back and probably get another sort of assessment done and see where I'm at and everything else. But
have you found, Vari, that this has been a tough time for you? You know.
At the start, no, and then in the sort of middle of it, it was sort of getting to me a little. But my sort of saving grace is I've got 2 dogs that just keep me on the sane side. So
okay.
And obviously they've got to be walked. You know what I mean? So that gets me out, gets me the fresh air. I've got them with me, and I feel sort of safe and happy. Do you know what I mean? So if I didn't have them, on the other hand, it would be a different story. So
yeah, I can imagine. You know, I've been saying to my wife quite often, you know, we've at least we're at home together. We've got a 5-month-old that's keeping us very, very, very busy, as we mentioned at the start. But I have thought a couple of times about just people that are totally alone. Because I started getting cabin fever. We were starting to get in each other's nerves a little bit because it's just the 2 of you at home, and it starts to take its toll. But then every so often when I'm going to the shops and something, I can tell sometimes the people that are probably alone, I always felt that, you know, I want to speak to them, and I say, "You're right," you know, and I try to be quite a friendly chap when I'm walking along the road, "How you doing?" or whatever. But because everybody had the fear, everybody's been like totally staying clear of each other, so it's been really strange. It's only maybe in the last week or so you probably find the same thing. Down south, I know, has been a little bit ahead of us, but the people are starting to kind of slowly get back to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but anytime we've been leaving the house, it's like people don't. It's not that they don't want to walk close to you, and they will cross the road and avoid you, but they don't even want to say hi.
Yeah,
and
no,
that,
that's
to
what I
me,
mean.
I'm like, we're not going to catch it from over the road. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can say
yeah,
hi
yeah.
and you can wave. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel the same as you. I feel the same as you. It's like some people are really like, it's like, they're 20 metres away from you. I mean, I don't think I can. You're not going to be able to get. You're well out of distance. But again, I think it has been a scary time for people. People are freaked out because people are dying. It's like, people are totally on edge.
Yeah, definitely. I've been seeing people driving past in the car on their own with a mask on, and I'm thinking, what are you going to catch in your car from yourself? It's bizarre.
I think this might become a bit of a fashion thing now. To be honest, all these companies now. There's companies making the stylish ones and this and that. Anything to try and make a few bob. It's,
exactly.
It's crazy times. But look, where are you now? How are you feeling in yourself now? What are you doing with yourself these days?
I'm 100 times better than what I was, to be honest. Before lockdown, I was using a lot of my time in the gym and swimming.
Oh, brilliant!
But
Good for
I
you.
can't do that just now.
Can't
Do
do
you know
that
what I
right
mean?
now. So you
Yeah,
got
so
the
that's
dogs.
sort of,
You got the dogs to get out walking and
yeah.
keep yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. That's basically about it just now. Do you know what I mean? Just get them out for as long as I can in the day, and just. But I've got a nice little garden as well, so we're doing sort of barbecues every other day. Do you know what I mean? Letting the dogs out. So
good for you.
Yeah, it's all about keep being happy. I think your health is your wealth, isn't it? It's nothing else to it, is there?
I've found that life's been put in perspective during this time. The stuff that we take for the simple things that you take for granted, they mean so much. Just your dogs, for instance. I mean, you probably always liked your dog, but during this time, you've probably just thought how lucky am I to have these two dogs. But they're my saving grace. Look, we're coming towards the end. I want to finish by saying a few things to you. I want to first of all just let the viewers know that I've known you for, like I said at the start, for many years, and you reached out to me to let me know that you were enjoying the episodes. And I'm going to say this because I think you're extremely brave. You obviously, you've achieved some great things in your life, Vari. You've achieved some fantastic things in your life, stuff that you should be really, really proud of. You played cricket for your country. Not many people get to do that.
Thank you.
You went into the army, you went into the navy. These are amazing achievements. And you've been through a lot of tough times in your life, and for you to come on here and speak your story and talk like you have with me, I'm very proud of you, very, very proud of you, and you should be very proud of yourself. I wish you nothing but the best. You've got a friend in me. If you ever want to drop me a text or pick up the phone, I'm always there to have a chat with you.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it.
I wish you nothing but the best in your future. And listen. Well, something, you just keep your head up, keep doing what you're doing. Don't forget, if things get tough again, to make sure you get help. And I think you're going to inspire so many people with this video. And I hope I can get this out to as many people as possible. And I hope you inspire loads of people to seek help. We've got Tyson Fury out there. He's a massive ambassador for people struggling with mental health. The heavyweight champion of the world. If he can suffer with something like this, we
can as well.
Exactly.
Yep.
So all that bravado stuff that you probably bottled up for to thinking, I need to get on with it. That old Scottish, dust yourself off, get on with it. Well, it's good that people like yourself are coming out. And again, I'll say this, I'm really, really proud of you. And thank you for coming on my show. I'll get this out really quite soon. And, you're going to have something to share with all your friends, all your family. And I'm sure they're going to be really proud of you as well.
Thanks so much, mate. Thank you.
You're welcome. You take care of yourself.
And you, and all the best for your career.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vari.